like a spinning back fist, like a random spinning back fist, boom.
And you're on air with Radio Chatter.
And I'm Jordan from Nite Market. Joining us on the flight deck today, the mayor of Laval himself, High Klassified.
Kevin, on a scale of 1 to screaming on the inside, how nervous are you right now?
It's not that bad, bro. I was expecting like something more stressful, but I'm chilling right now. I'm feeling good.
You know Kevin Vincent best as High Klassified. He's an award-winning producer whose musical talents span from making video game-inspired fantasy soundtracks to world-class hip-hop beats with artists like A-Track, Future, and The Weeknd.
So we're on the top of Mont Sutton right now at 5,500 feet. We're taking a look at the beautiful ski runs right now. Normally they've got snow on them, but for now they're kind of all green. It's really hot outside.
Mm-hmm.
So Kevin, a lot of people know you as obviously High Klassified and Mr. Laval ou Rien.
Yeah.
The guy with the fly sneaker collection. But not as many people know that you actually used to be an avid kickboxer. And so can you tell us a little bit about the time that you were at the dojo sparring with a competitive kickboxer and you accidentally knocked him out?
Yeah, so crazy. So back in 2008, I was taking Muay Thai classes and kickboxing and Taekwondo classes, like anything related to martial arts, right? And during the classes, the teacher used to like make like two students fight one against the other. And I think I got like a bit too serious. And I punched like someone very hard in the face and his nose started bleeding.
Oh no.
Yeah, I feel bad. Like a spinning back fist, like a random spinning back fist, boom.
What happened next?
I said sorry.
In retrospect, do you have anything that you would have done differently or anything that you want to say to him?
No, I mean, it was a good fight. Like, you know.
That's too funny. Doesn't it feel like kind of a waste of money to hire security at any of your gigs, knowing that like you could probably hold your own up there if anybody got a little rowdy?
I'm a weapon myself.
You recently tweeted that the creation phase of my next project is officially 100% done.
Yeah.
As a fellow artist myself, I recognize that sometimes, or at least for me, it can be really difficult to actually decide when we've finished a project. What does your creation process look like, and how do you actually know when you're 100% done?
My creation process takes a bit longer than some people because I like to create and then back up for a bit. Like I like to just back up the project for like a whole month and then just jump back in. And if I listen to the project over again and it feels amazing and I feel good and confident about the whole thing, then it means that the creative process is done.
Are there any songs that you've created or worked on that hold a special place in your heart because of the time and effort you put into it? Or perhaps the meaning behind the song?
I pretty much, my favorite song that I've produced is Hyrule Castle. It's a song I produced like back in 2K15, and I love this beat. Like it's just like a big reflection of my hard work and like learning throughout the years. I produced this beat like a month after getting banned from the United States for like 5 years. So like it was like the month after getting banned, and I felt like hopeless and shit. And like just the fact that I produced Hyrule Castle it gave me like a breeze of hope, you know, like, yeah, you're banned from the States, but you can still produce dope shit, you know?
Would you say that your favorite song, your best song, quote unquote, and your most popular song are all different, or would you say that they're all in alignment with each other?
Well, Hyrule Castle is not my most popular production, but it's pretty much one of my like top 3 of like my most loved song, like the most like 5 years later I still play this song in the club and like people still fuck with it.
Kevin, your music is obviously dope, and it's cool because you've managed to maintain this trajectory where like you're not shifting the type of music that you're making to get a certain placement or like to cater to a certain artist or something like that. And you've literally said like they have to know the high classified sound. And so you've said you draw inspiration from video game soundtracks, which is obviously crazy unique. So with the mindset that you've got, like, not that we have a crystal ball or anything like that, but is there something that you would low-key like to see happen in the future? Like an independent filmmaker reaches out to you and they're like, yeah, we want you to be the soundtrack to this movie, or like a video game maker or something like that?
I would love to produce for like movies, for video games, anything that has like nothing to do with like music, like radio or like, you know, like songs.
But do you feel like that's because of your interest in video games growing up that kind of led you to produce music that way?
Yeah, well, just knowing that like you have total control of like the direction of the music. If I produce for like movies, I wouldn't have to like follow like someone's vocals or shit, you know? I just produce for the whole movie and the video game. So yeah.
It kind of sounds like you do music visually, so like you see the music. Is that what you're thinking? And are these different like fantasy sort of scenes that you're creating in your own head going on like while you're making the music?
Always. Like every time I produce, there's always a video game video on the back. There's always Netflix playing on the back, playing some animes. It's all about the vibes, bro. Like,
anime.
I mostly play video games, so when I make beats, I only like visualize like myself as a main character and like just.
So it's not necessarily like you're looking at Zelda or you're looking at like Final Fantasy when you're making your music. It's like, this game doesn't really exist. It's kind of my game. It's kind of my world.
Exactly.
You also talk about how you don't just want to be the guy like in the basement making beats for other people. And so like, where do you see your artistic expression branching out into next? And I mean like maybe outside of music.
Yeah, like as an artist, I really want to be like an icon myself, you know, like I love art. Anything that has to do with art, I just love it. And like music is my first and my main way to express myself. But I feel like I love fashion. I love movies. I love everything. So just my main goal is to be an icon, you know?
So I think it's really cool how even before meeting you, your personality shines through on the internet and through your music. Mm-hmm. Speaking of personalities, I recently got on the topic of code switching with a friend. For those who don't know, code switching is to customize or change the way that you speak and the mannerisms that you use when addressing different groups of people. Everyone code switches from time to time, intentional or unintentional, but more and more it's something that we're recognizing. This can be in terms of race, economic status, education, or background. And for yourself, as someone who's becoming more and more prolific, do you ever notice people changing their behaviors around you as a famous person, whether it's the people you grew up with or the people you meet at parties and events?
Well, if we go back to high school, like I was pretty much bullied in high school, like my whole high school, and like seeing people from my high school that used to make fun of me and bully me just completely change and like being super nice to me and like super respectful. Is that a code change?
Yeah, it definitely
Sick.
can be. Like that's definitely code switching. So as a Black person, do you ever notice white people code switching around you and changing the way that they act or speak?
Well, yeah, of course. Like I could be like in an all-white party and like some people are just gonna like drop some words in Creole just to show me that like they know of like the Haitian culture. And I feel like there's like a lot of white people trying to speak our way, but it's not useful.
Obviously, there have been a number of recent events that expose just how severe the divide is. Still, when we look at race and like the disparate treatment of groups of non-white people, and as shocking or unfortunately as unshocking as a lot of these events are, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, to name a few, the response on social media has been a big focal point for like businesses, community organizations, artists, politicians. And so first off, how do you feel about the whole idea that people are responding to this? Like, is it upsetting that people are showing support performatively, or is it a good thing that we're finally putting racism towards the forefront of the conversation where it belongs?
I feel like it's pretty important for like anyone, for black people and non-black people to like be anti-racist and not just non-racist, you know, and just like having to show their like support to the community. I feel like it's not like a huge statement, but like just like showing us, hey, we're with you guys, you know.
So when you see businesses that aren't traditionally vocal about issues surrounding race, and now they're jumping in the conversation, does that, to some people that seems disingenuous, to some it's like, well, that's like a good idea that they're jumping in on the conversations then?
Well, on my side, and I don't like share the same opinion as my friends, but on my side, it's about spreading awareness. And a lot of people are telling me that like, oh shit, like this person is sharing about Black Lives Matter, but like he for real, he doesn't give a shit. And I'm like, man, probably he doesn't give a shit, but at least he has like 100,000 followers, and probably like some people of his 100,000 of followers are gonna give a shit. So like, maybe some people that are like speaking about it are being hypocrite. I don't know. But to me, as long as you're spreading awareness, it's gonna fall into someone's ear that's gonna support the cause, you know? So to me, I'm super grateful. Even though some people don't mean it and they're just doing it for the purpose of doing it, I'm still grateful because they're still spreading awareness regardless, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, when you look at some of the responses, are there any of them that have stuck out to you as being like a really good response, or that have stuck out as being bad maybe?
Yeah, for like example, the Blackout Tuesday, there's like a whole rumor of like conspiracy behind the Blackout Tuesday thing that if you post, and I'm like,
yeah, totally.
Well, I haven't done my research deeper enough to know if it's a whole conspiracy thing, but like at least it was of good intentions, you know? So to me, it's okay for me as long as you're doing actions for a good intention, you know? So yeah.
Totally. So just the other day, you shared a video of Montreal police unreasonably questioning and then forcefully pulling a black man out of his vehicle and arresting him on a busy street when he clearly wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
And then just a short while before this, a certain prolific politician got up in front of the media and had this to say on behalf of the province: there's no systemic discrimination. And so how does a position like that make you feel?
For real, to be honest with you, there is systematic racism in Quebec. There's a video of me on Facebook from like 6 years ago. I was going out in a club called Fuzzy Laval, and we literally like got like surrounded by cops, and they had like
holy shit.
Yeah, and they all had their guns out because apparently someone called the cops and said that like there were like 4 armed black men in this club, and we were 4 black men, so like we got like the big arrestation, like,
oh my god,
guns on us and like handcuffs and shit, like in front of everyone and shit. So like there is systematic like racism in Quebec. I can confirm that to everyone. And there's this video I just shared a couple of days ago to confirm it. So like, it's obvious things.
Kevin, like in your opinion, then like what's the most practical thing that everybody can do? I mean, as a non-Black person, like what? Obviously, getting vocal on social media is one thing, but is there anything special that you think is like a practical way that people can put things into action?
Educate yourself and the others. Like, I do have hopes for the upcoming generations, you know, like maybe not now. Well, we're working on it and we're getting better and better, but I have hopes for the next generations, like
The Gen Zs.
yeah, like educate your kids about it. Like in primary school, they used to call me Le Brun, the brown guy, like for my skin color. Like, it's so simple. Just tell your kid.
Not to fucking do that.
Just don't do that. Like
Just tell your kid. Écoute, Marie-Christine, listen, Marie-Christine, there's Black people, there's Asian people, you know, just like teach your kids about other races, about other cultures, you know, so we can like live like all together respectfully. So yeah, just like spread awareness, spread culture, spread everything, you know, just make sure the other generation's ready, because this generation's fucked up.
So you've been interviewed by some pretty cool people and featured in some sick publications, most notably Forbes.
Yeah.
You've also been interviewed by some smaller media companies based in Quebec. Have you noticed a difference in how you're portrayed in Quebec media versus Canadian media or even international media?
Well, you know what? When I do like interviews locally or like I'm featured in an article or something, they pretty much like consider me like as a big artist in Quebec, Canada,
Yeah.
which is dope. But like in the States or like Forbes, they're gonna like address me as a up and coming artist,
Yeah, for
which
sure.
is totally like understandable. Like, I'm not expecting on like people juicing shit up and saying that like I'm like the best producer on earth and shit. Like,
HK is allowed back in the States now, so we're opening the floodgates.
5
Yeah.
years.
And you won't be an up-and-coming artist for much longer with the U.S. publications.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, your record label is based in Brooklyn, eh?
Yeah. Shout out A-Track, Post Gold.
What up?
So have you ever been stereotyped in the media or even the music industry in general as being part of a genre that you're not?
Well, you know, as a Black artist, like everyone has the vision of a Black artist like as a gangster rapper or a gangster artist, you know. So like it's like obvious things. Like, of course I've been like generalized or like put in a box because of my skin color and probably because I'm Black and I do hip hop music and shit. But like, oh shit, you make music, so you make like gangster rap. I'm like, no, I'm a producer and I make beats and like I can play
They kind of look
keys.
at you funny.
I can, yeah.
They're
and-
like, what?
and I can make super soulful music, you know?
So there are a lot of people who used to kind of treat you poorly when you were growing up, and then you talk a lot about how a lot of them have changed their tune now, and they come to your show, they show you love, etc. So why do you think a lot of them are treating you differently in your mid-20s now than they were in your pre-teens?
Well, I'm not really blaming them, because like, you know, in high school you're like learning from like your life and like your experiences, and like you just get to know more people. And like, imagine you're always around like athletic people that plays basketball and listens to like this kind of music or whatever. You're not gonna get used to like seeing a nerdy Black man that loves video games and shit and that doesn't do sports, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I feel like I'm not blaming people for being nice to me like now and have a certain name because of my work, but I feel like people are just learning shit. Like, I can play video games too, and you know, like people are just learning with time. So I'm not salty about that.
Obviously, given your personal experiences when you were younger, and like I can relate personally too, like I've had some experiences of my own, and bullying's like a cause that you really care about. And so what's one thing that you think is missing now in the way that kids are growing up that would have helped you when you're growing up kind of deal with that type of treatment?
Well, yeah, because like during high school, it wasn't so easy because like Black people were like mostly like this party type. They were like playing basketball and shit.
Right.
And I wasn't. So like I felt like I was like not a part of the Black culture of my high school, you know, because some of them made me feel like I wasn't one of theirs. So when I had white friends, obviously I'm Black, so they didn't make me feel like I was one of them either, and I'm Black, so I'm not supposed to like relate to the white community. So I just felt like I had no identity during high school, you know.
That's actually such a valuable point, because you just started my mind. Like, my next follow-up is going to be like, do you think race played a role in that? And what you just said is actually super crazy, because the Black stereotypes exist in the first place, that you felt like you didn't belong. Like, if those stereotypes didn't exist, then you wouldn't have felt like you were being bullied.
Yeah, because I felt like I did belong in the Black community, but like some of them made me feel like I wasn't a part of them. But it's actually good, because by hanging out with white people, it was like my homework to like teach white people about my culture, you know?
That become exhausting, having to teach white people about your culture? Or is it something you enjoyed?
No, it's exhausting, but it's like when you're like the only Black man in like a whole space full of white people, it's automatic. Like, you know that you're gonna have to teach some stuff to some people.
That's where the kickboxing comes in, right?
The spinning back fist. But yeah, well, sadly it's like not on me to do that, but it's a part of my defense mechanism to like, please just let me like give you some knowledge, because I'm not trying to spend the worst night of my life with ignorant people, you know.
I think that plays into what we were talking about earlier, what you were saying earlier about how some of the best things that people can do to be anti-racist is to educate themselves.
Yeah, and like you unfortunately, like, we get used to that shit. Like, imagine I'd be walking like outside during nighttime in Laval, and someone sees a Black man in Laval walking outside during the night. I'm just gonna walk outside and like see someone, and I'm like talking to myself, and I'm like, I could bet $1,000 that this person's gonna cross the street, and I just won $1,000, you know.
So you've mentioned before that A$AP Rocky is your favorite artist of all time, and that he really influenced you musically.
Yeah.
Specifically his first mixtape.
Yeah.
Are there any characteristics or values that an artist has to possess for them to become an idol to you? Or is it strictly about the music that they're creating?
It's all about the knowledge, the vibes. It's all about, every artist I love is his own thing, you know. Like, A$AP Rocky is an artist that I love, but I also love a Canadian artist called Slacky the Beat Child, and he's super different from A$AP Rocky, you know. So I feel like every artist has his own flavor, and it's just being super good at this characteristic that makes me love this artist. Like, A$AP Rocky really loves fashion, and he's really about it. Like, the way he speaks about it, the way he dresses, you can't say that he's passionate about something. And this is what I respect. Slacky the Beat Child is super soulful, and he has this good cards knowledge. He has amazing progression. He's an amazing singer. He has like, so just the fact that knowing someone is so passionate about something, this is how the artist wins the prize of my favorite artist.
All right, it's time for a game called Did You Dabble With It? Jordan and I have a couple subjects, topics, pastimes. Some of them have some truth to them, and some of them are a complete shot in the dark. And so we'll say the subject in rapid fire, and then you say yes or no if you did indeed dabble with it. Let's get started. Roller Coaster Tycoon.
No.
Okay, SodaStream.
Yeah.
Nice.
Shitty MacBooks that shut down in the middle of shows in Paris.
Oh my god, yes.
Shut up.
Okay, LimeWire.
Yeah, of course.
lizards,
Yeah.
The Spice Girls?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
air miles, reward miles,
Nah.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Man, nah.
roasting barbers for lowering your beard line.
Oh, yes.
Shit.
Bing the search engine.
What's up?
Bing the search engine.
Bang the search engine?
You know, like it's like
Like
Google.
knock
and then
off
with Bing.
Google.
Veganism.
Yeah, of course.
ShamWow.
Nah.
Hiring professional cleaners to hide the evidence of your ragers from your mom
Oh, yes.
all the time.
Oh,
Big
wow.
professional cleaners guy.
Always.
All right, everybody, it's coming to that time, the moment that we've all been waiting for. Jordan, what time is it?
So now it's time for the rapid fire Instagram fan questions. I'm going to start with a question from @JManIsMe. He wants to know who you think the top 3 hip hop producers ever are.
Pharrell Williams, Jay Dilla, and Timbaland.
The French Flintstone, @the French Flintstone, wants to know what are the consistencies in your daily habits that contributed to your success?
Always find new ways to stay creative. So like always listen to music, always play video games, always watch movies, always go to museum, anything that has to do with art.
You heard it here, kids. Always play video games.
Always.
@First Wonder is wondering, do you find it difficult keeping your Quebec identity making music?
Well, of course. As a producer, it's not that easy, you know, because I'm not singing on music, I'm not rapping on music, so like it's hard to hear like a Quebec flavor just off of a beat, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
@Dave Harder Barber, and shout out by the way for giving me that sick fade last
That's
week.
my guy.
@Dave Harder Barber asks, when is Banksy dropping some beats? Lol.
Oh my God, Banksy's dropping beats in a couple months. Give him
Bangers.
like 5 more months until he reaches 1 year and we're good.
@Coyote42 is asking if and how someone can work with you in the studio for a day, whether to collaborate or learn from you.
Of course, just send me a message and for sure I'd be more than open to like just show some stuff to people, you know, give them some knowledge that they need to start making beats.
Yeah, do you wanna like share your phone number with everybody?
Yeah,
Or
of course. 438. But yeah, just all my contact info are in my Instagram. There's my email, so just feel free to hit me up.
When you were starting out, did you ever wish that somebody had did that for you, or did someone do that for you?
Someone did that for me. My cousin
Nice.
actually showed me like the base of Fruity Loops of how making beats, and then I just started working on my own and like learning, you know.
@Danielle Nottingham, or I should say the Danielle Nottingham, she's the host of NBC's California Live,
Ivy,
wants to know what made you scream today, smiley face.
man, I was expecting on like a more scarier flight, so I haven't screamed yet. So
Thank
we
you.
good.
So our last Instagram fan question,
Yes.
we have the real or @RealOGK World. He's asked us, does your mom ever complain about the loud music?
Never, ever, ever.
Never.
She's gonna complain about like unfamiliar sounds, like people talking loudly or like people walking loudly and shit, but like music, never, you know. She's just like, nah, it's just the background music when I fall asleep.
That's it for the fan questions. You guys heard it here first. It's High Klassified here on Radio Chatter with Nite Markt, and it's time to head back and go in for landing. So say goodbye to the fans.
Goodbye.
Peace out.
I just juked in my mouth. Hey guys, if you love this interview with Radio Chatter and Nite Markt, please consider donating to la Clinique Juridique de Saint-Michel right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. You know exactly what to do. Fasten your seatbelts and subscribe for more.